Om Shruti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaye Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Namah Pranavarthaye Shuddha Jnanaikamurtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaye Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunattu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Bhadram Karne Vishnuyama Devaha Bhadram Pashye Makshabhir Yajatraha Sthirairangai Shushtivagum Sastanubihi Vyashema Devahitan Yadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vriddhashravaha Swasti na Pusha Vishvavedaha Swasti nastarksho Arishtanemihi Swasti no Brahaspatir Dadatu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We were talking about Anyonya Ashraya, mutual interdependence. And the example that we looked at was a person has weight and has a knee problem. To solve the knee problem, weight has to reduce. Otherwise, put too much pressure on the knee. And to reduce weight, the person has to do exercises. Go for a walk, go to the gym. And he or she cannot do that because the knee is bad. So to get the knee back in shape, you have to reduce the weight. And to reduce the weight, you have to get the knee back in shape. And catch 22. How do you normally get out of something like this? Maybe you need external help. Swami G had a very interesting example to this. He told a story of one person in a village. He called him, I think, Subbu. Our Subbu. He had a little mental deficiency. Everybody in the village knew. So they took him to various places to try and sort this out. Won't happen. And then finally one wise man told him, the father, you get him married. That will solve the problem. He'll become okay. So he said, agreed. Now, nobody in the village would give his daughter to this boy because he's mentally a little retarded. So they went far to another village and finally found one person who was willing to consider marriage. Everybody in the village conspired that we will not tell that fellow, or tell that girl's father that there is a little problem here. So when they came to meet the boy and the boy's parents, everything looked good. Except there's always one person in any group, no? So he met this gentleman, the girl's father. He's a very, very good boy. You know, we all respect him in the village. Only one small problem he has. He sometimes doesn't know who he is. Sometimes he thinks he's a chicken. Sometimes he thinks he's a hare. Otherwise, he's perfect. Perfect, good, healthy child. Marriage is gone. The girl's father won't consider marriage after that. So Subbu cannot get married unless his mental problem is sorted out. His mental problem cannot be sorted out unless Subbu gets married. So you have Anyonya Ashraya. Swami G is an example. This he said because studying Vedanta, Tattvamasi, understand Tattvamasi is like that. And you have to understand, it is not a matter for belief. You cannot say, oh, he's my guru, I have a lot of respect for him. He says Tattvamasi, Tattvamasi is right. Or Shastra I have respect for, and Shastra says Tattvamasi, therefore no. You have to understand. If you say Tattvamasi, it is only belief then. And this is one jnanam, unlike many other religious texts, where it insists that you understand. Don't believe. Just because I say so, don't accept it. I know you have a lot of respect, but I want you to understand. Because this whole game is about understanding your nature. Otherwise, it remains a belief. A belief immediately signifies that the person has not made any effort to understand. Any belief is like that. So this Anyonya Ashraya, as long as it is there, how do you break the cycle? In this case, it is knowledge. And this knowledge cannot be got unless you have the whole vision. You cannot understand individual verses. Unless you study and understand each individual verse, you cannot understand the whole. So how do you start? One, you need an external help. So anybody who says, I know the language, I'm a very sharp person, why can't I read Tattvamasi and get the knowledge? He doesn't understand what he's saying. He wants you to believe. That's why many of these religions are called faiths. Christian faith, Muslim faith, whatever other faith. Because you do not reason and question. This knowledge cannot be accepted like that. You've seen in many places, Pariprashnena Sevaya. You ask questions. You must have questions. It's impossible that it doesn't have questions. One person doesn't have questions. If you're a thinking person, you have already drawn some conclusions in your mind. And here is suddenly another point of, not even a point of view, another statement which contradicts everything you thought you knew. You have to question which is right. Both can't be right. One of them has some lacuna. So you have to figure out what is. Either you say that since the Shastra doesn't conform to my understanding that I've had gained so far, I reject Shastra. Or one can say, no, I have Shraddha. Shraddha, I repeat, is not faith. I have Shraddha. What is Shraddha? Guru Shastrasya Guru Vakyasya Satya Buddhi. I know what it says is right because I accept Shastra as a pramana. A pramana is one which reveals knowledge. By removing ajnana. What about ice, Swami G? Ice reveals knowledge. No, ice only removes ajnana. Every pramana is like that. A pramana removes ajnanam, and by removing ajnanam, it reveals the truth. What's the difference between Ishvara, Jagat Karanam Brahman, and a Jiva? Ishvara is all knowledge. It is available to us. We have layers of ajnanam. And unless we can remove all that, that knowledge is not accessible. That Ishvara, we try to understand this. In fact, one of the most critical steps in the understanding of Vedanta. What is Ishvara? All knowledge is always there. All knowledge is Satyam. Therefore, what you need to do is Jnana Nivritti. And for that Ajnana Nivritti, acceptance of Shastra as a pramana, as a means of knowledge, becomes critical. There are many faiths which will not accept a pramana, or which will accept a pramana as a faith. I accept Bible as a faith. I accept Quran as a faith. Not with Shraddha. And because I accept Quran as a faith, somewhere in the Quran, the words are, anybody who doesn't agree with you, kill him. Now, again, you don't know the actual intent behind it. We don't know. Or Buddha. What Buddha said, many people have interpreted. The Shishyas have interpreted. And some of them will come and say, there is nothing. I am a Shunyavadi. There is only Shunyam, non-existence. But if you start asking them to understand what they mean, initially they will talk to you, later they will start slowly, the temperature will start rising. Because it's a faith. They don't accept. Therefore, this acceptance of Shastra is a pramana. And on what basis do you accept Shastra as a pramana? We go back to saying, what is it that in the Jagat is a pramana for everything we know? Eyes, ears, nose, skin, etc. And the various other things that we have learned. Pratyaksha pramana, Anumana pramana, Upamana pramana, etc. And that pramana reveals something, we accept it as the truth. There's no challenge. Why is there no challenge? Because a pramana has a field of operation which is unique to it. Therefore, it is a pramana. Number one. Number two, it does not contradict anything else. And if there is a contradiction, that contradiction can be explained and understood. Number three, it does not contradict itself. There is one place, some statement is there, another place, another statement is there, which is contrary to the statement. Sometimes it looks like it is contrary. If it looks like it's contrary, that has to be understood, analyzed, understood using the capacity we have been given. And the reconciliation arrived at. These are some of the basic characteristics of a pramana. Vedanta is a pramana. We say it is the only pramana available for knowing the self. No, but I know myself. Who else will know me? I know myself. Wait a minute. You know yourself in general way. How? I know I exist. But what is the nature of I don't. That's where I make the mistake. So what Vedanta reveals is the true nature of I. Vedanta knows very well that you know you exist. There's no problem with that. But what is my real nature? Only Vedanta as a pramana can reveal. And this revelation, I don't like the word, this knowledge that I gain from this pramana, I have to start, because there's a cycle that has been broken, I have to start with Shraddha. Shraddha does not mean any contrary conclusion I have already arrived at. I need to throw out of the window. All it means is suspend that for a moment. Try and understand what Shastra says without blocking the pramana. You know the story of the Zen master we've talked about many times. If the cup is full, you keep pouring more tea into the cup, it will only flow outside, nothing will go inside. So Shraddha involves only suspending one's conclusions and try and understand what Shastra says. We've seen in Tattva Bodha also that Shraddha is not just in the words of the Shastra. The words of the Shastra have to be understood. Words can be misinterpreted. We have the capacity, even in a normal conversation, we misunderstand. What the intent of the speaker and what the listener receives are not the same. There is distortion in between. And this is so subtle that there is very, very high probability that there will be distortion. So you not only have to have Shraddha in the Shastra, in the words of the Shastra, Shastra means Veda, but also need somebody who has gone through this again in the past, who has understood already, or at least has done enough examination of this to be able to help us take the right steps. A guru. We've seen in Mundaka Upanishad, Veda by itself is considered aparavidya. Veda by itself, all four Vedas are, Mundaka Upanishad says, aparavidya. They cannot give you that which Arshavidyalaya is looking for, Brahma Vidya, Paravidya. For that, the Shastra and Guru always go together. This Shraddha becomes the key to understanding what Vedanta is telling us. And because we accept Vedanta as a pramana, you can't take piecemeal. I will accept this as pramana, this as pramana, this as pramana, but I will not take this. The whole Veda is a pramana. That we have acceptance of Veda as a pramana leads to a lot of things which becomes easier to understand. Once you accept it as a pramana, it becomes easier to understand. And this Shraddha, when Arshavidyalaya asked Brahmaji for Brahma Vidya, he says, he doesn't tell him Tattvamasi. He says, Shraddha Bhakti Dhyana Yogat Avehi. He's actually giving the means. Because he's asking you to have Shraddha in the Shastra, there are two possible types of Shraddha. I know something is non-verifiable. To say that after the fall of the body, the jiva goes to another loka, it is there in the Veda. And since I accept Veda as a pramana, I accept that also. But I cannot verify it. Nobody goes and comes back and tells you, no, it is there, it's a nice place. There are all nice things there. Nobody tells you. But Veda tells you that there is a place where there is no dukkha, called Swarga. And we accept that. And Veda also says, to get to that loka, you have to live life like this, like this, like this. That also we accept. Somebody who's lived a life like this, absolutely without any change, we don't know whether he went to Swargaloka or not. But we accept that he goes to Swargaloka because Pramana says he will go. It is non-verifiable knowledge given by Shastra. But there are many things which can be verified in time. What Vedanta tells us, that your Purnaha can be verified in time. Although this is totally contradictory to everything that I thought I knew, this can be verified. I go back to that little video I was talking about. The physics Nobel Prize winners have shown that the world is not real. Is it a verifiable belief or non-verifiable belief? If I accept because they are scientists and they have done a lot of work and they've got the Nobel Prize, I accept their conclusion, it is faith. But if you really want to know, it need not be belief or faith. A person can step by step understand. I first understand a little bit of arithmetic, then I understand algebra, then I understand integral calculus, then I go into larger understanding. I go into particle physics, I go into quantum mechanics. Each step I understand something more. I understand relativity, I understand wave theory, string theory, all that there in the quantum mechanics. There is an experiment called double slit experiment. I try and understand what that experiment was. Maybe I do it myself. All that I do, then I come to the state of reading what they've written and understanding what they're saying and how they've arrived at this conclusion, the world is not real. Therefore, it need not be a faith. On the one hand, I can take a stand saying that what they're talking is nonsense, which is the stand a lot of people unfortunately take for Vedanta, without ever making an attempt to understand what they say. Or I can take a stand saying that they must be right, because they are great scientists, Nobel Prize winners, other scientists have endorsed what they're saying. I accept. I don't know enough science to know anymore, but I accept what they say. Or I can go the path of studying each step and either arriving at the conclusion that they're right or they are not right. But I do that, I go through the process. Vedanta and the knowledge of the self is like that only. It is not a faith. It is not a belief. It is something to be understood. Ishvara is like that. Step towards understanding I have to understand Ishvara. I cannot simply say, I accept Ishvara. Okay. You accept Ishvara. It's like saying, I accept his conclusion that world is not real. Or I don't accept Ishvara. Because I don't understand. You don't understand because you never made an effort to understand. Therefore, I believe in God. God is not something to be believed in. Knowledge of the self, Brahma Vidya, is not something to be believed in. It is not a faith. You have to inquire and understand. And the starting point, like I said, is that you have a guru and you have Shraddha in the Shastra and in the Guru. Shastrasya Guru Vakyasya Satya Buddhi is Shraddha. Therefore, Shraddha Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti Dhyana Yoga Avehi. Avehi, may you know. May you understand. Through these sadhana, Shraddha, Bhakti, Dhyana, may you understand. Avehi is again a very interesting word. Normally, when you have a word in Sanskritam, you can look at the word and say, what is the dhatu from which it comes? But there are several words, several dhatus in Sanskritam, about 123, if I remember right, all of which mean gatau, going. This is a dhatu called in. That dhatu and avehi seem to have no relationship. In gatau. Ava as a prefix and in lot lakar. May you know. And since it is talking about may you know, it is madhyama purusha. You. May you know. Ava plus in lot lakar madhyama purusha ekavachana. Avehi. You can study that. All the Sanskrit sutras you can study and arrive at this. Not very difficult. So he says, Shraddha Bhakti Dhyana Yoga Avehi. Arshavidyalaya asked for Brahma Vidya. He didn't tell him what the Brahma Vidya. He said, please use these sadhana. Now, earlier we said that Arshavidyalaya is probably very well prepared already. That means he's got all that is required to prepare oneself. So, Brahmaji does not go into saying, go and do karma yoga, be a karma yogi. Like Bhagavan told Arjuna, because he was not yet ready, he told Arjuna, be a karma yogi. Here, Brahmaji does not tell Ashwadayana be a karma yogi. He knows he's already gone through those stages. That stage of preparation of a karma yoga is a mandatory step. Whether one goes through it in this lifetime or previous lifetime, then I will have to go through it. So here he assumes karma yoga is what is called bahiranga sadhana, externally possible. Whereas these are required as antaranga sadhana. They are all sadhana only. They are all means, methods you use to try and understand. Okay, you're a dharmic person, you have mumukshutvam, and all the other qualities are required. You live the life of a karma yogi. Now, he says, I want to know Brahma Vidya. He says, Shraddha Bhakti Dhyana Yoga Tavihi. May you know by this sadhana. In Taittiriya Upanishad also, Varuna tells his son Bhrigu when he asks for the same knowledge to go and do tapas on what is that one thing from which everything emanates, which sustains everything and into which everything resolves. Go and do tapas, dhyanam. Here also he doesn't immediately tell him the thing, he only says, go and use this sadhana. We have to understand what he means by saying Shraddha, what he means by saying Bhakti, what he means by saying Jnanam. And how does one live life? With these kind of sadhana is all that we have to do to follow. We are assuming that we have already lived a life like a karma yogi. We are already ready for this. And we do it step by step. Shastra is very kind to us, takes us, holds us by the hand and takes us step by step. Like I said, the Jagat, that the world does not exist is a conclusion drawn by some scientists on quantum mechanics. In fact, I was trying to understand this. I was trying to read this thing. They would talk of something called entangled photons. A lot to understand, but you can understand, not impossible. Shastra also says the Jagat is Mithya. The difference between what he says and what the Shastra says is, Shastra says Jagat is Mithya, non-self-existent. It depends for its existence on something. Actually, he also says the same thing. I've simplified the conclusion by saying world is not real. The world is Mithya. For its existence, the world depends on, he says, observer, Sakshi. Shastra says that. I am not saying that the scientists science has to validate Shastra. It doesn't require validation. It's an independent pramana. But because we are wired like this to look at what scientists have come up with, we start with certain Shraddha in the Shastra, which says the Jagat is Mithya. That Shraddha can be validated. Any little doubt I might have had, saying that, okay, I start with Shraddha, I start with accepting that what Shastra says is correct, and Shastra says the Jagat is Mithya. Now, science also says so. Therefore, my Shraddha becomes stronger, that's all. It is like saying, do Topakaranam. I have some Shraddha because elders tell me Topkaram is good for you. Topkaram, hold this thing and do thak by thak. But when somebody has done some research and come up with a data which shows that by doing this, it enhances the brain capacity on both sides, that statement that Shastra made that you should do this, that is nothing, doesn't require validation. What requires validation is my Shraddha. As a child, you may have asked your parents, they told you, going for the exam, please do Patatopakarnam, 10 Topakaranam to Pulayar. We probably did because we accepted what the parents said. But some people might question, why should I do? They may or may not have enough Shraddha, but this validates the Shraddha. Oh, it is like that, therefore I will do. That, therefore, we say the Shraddha which I start with in the Shastra and in the Guru. The Shastra sometimes tells you Satyam Vada. Now, I may accept it, or I may turn around and say, why should I do that? I get benefit by not telling the truth. You will follow this only when you see that following that line of living, you do a cost-benefit analysis. We all like to do all this. What is the cost of not following that? You see a benefit because by telling a lie, you got some material benefit. But what are the costs involved? When you understand the cost, then you do an objective cost-benefit analysis and say, no, I should follow this because this has very heavy cost to me. My own peace of mind is disturbed. So this cost-benefit analysis we can do. It's not impossible. The Shraddha is also required and the Guru is also required for another reason. Like I said, the words can be misinterpreted. For example, the word Satyam. Now we say Brahman is Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, and that Brahman is you. Our immediate interpretation of the word Satyam is within a time scale. What remains unchanging in the past, in the present, and the future. That is true of objects. We say gravity is Satyam because once it's established, we've understood it doesn't change. Till another scientist comes up and says, no, it depends on another factor. The gravity on the moon is different from the gravity on the earth. That changes. It changes with time, it changes with place. So Guru will explain. Satyam is Asti, is. But the Satyam we're talking about in reference to Brahman, is not the Satyam that we understand in the Laukika. That Satyam we are talking about has nothing to do with time, nothing to do with space. Desha Kala Vastu Aparichinna. Not limited by, not constrained by, not in any way dependent on. Now, by reading only the book, how can I find out? Unless a guru has gone through this and was understood that this Satyam that you talk about is the Satyam which is without time, space, continuum. Time-space continuum are contained in the Satyam. Therefore, the Guru becomes a gateway for Shastra. Therefore, when you say Shraddha, it is Shastrasya Guru Vakyasya Satya Buddhi. We see many things and then we conclude. The sun rises in the east and sets in the west because we see the sun every morning and we know that's the east direction. But the truth is, sun never rises, sun never sets. A school teacher will tell you, no, sun doesn't rise, beta. Sun is stationary, earth rotates, and therefore it looks like the sun rises and sun sets. You need that. Therefore, Shraddha becomes so very critical. For Shraddha, Bhakti, Dhyana, Yogat, Avehi. And this Shraddha, because it is defined the way we understand it now, becomes Shravana Karanam. I do Shravanam because I have Shraddha in the Shastra. I listen to a teacher because I have Shraddha in the Guru Vakyam. I do Shravanam with an open mind because I know that the Guru has no axe to grind. The Guru has my welfare at heart. That the Guru is a traditional Guru. That the Guru is a Shrotriya Brahmanishta. In Undakamrishna Bhashyam, Shankaracharya very categorical. There also is, Gurumeva Abhigachet, you say. The person goes to a Guru, Shankaracharya categorically says, Sastrajñopi Swatantrena Brahmajnana Anveshanam na kuryat. Even if you're a Shastrajña, you've studied a lot of Shastra, you are very bright, very high IQ, you have knowledge of languages. Even then he says, Shastrajña api, even though you're a Shastrajña, one who knows Shastra, who is a master of Shastra, Swatantrena, on your own, independently, Brahmajnana Anveshanam na kuryat. Don't even attempt to try and understand Brahmajnanam. You cannot do that. For Shraddhaya Avehi. By Shraddha alone, you understand. May you understand. That Shraddha, which is not faith, which leads me to do Shravanam again and again and again. Because this Jnanam, I have to hear from a Guru and I have to contemplate. I have to examine them. And what is the key examination in this is, Shastra says from something as simple as Satyam Vada to as subtle as saying, you are Purnaha. All these I have to examine. I have to examine each time I do Shravanam. I hear all this. All this sounds very logical in the class. Then I go out after the class to office. Everything goes out of the window. That has to be constantly contemplated upon. Why does Shastra say so? Why did the Guru explain it in this fashion? Why did he use this example? Why is it something which is so different from what I thought I understood? Where is the difference? I don't throw the Shastra out of the window. I accept Shastra, but I do see there's a difference. How do I reconcile the difference? I don't accept simply because the Guru says so or Shastra says so. And this process, like I said, a step-by-step understanding takes time. You won't understand this statement, the world is not real, made by these scientists. I said, there are a whole lot of steps you have to go through before you can arrive at that. Here also, when you say the Jagat is Mithya, there's only one Satyam. And the Jagat depends on that Satyam, and that Satyam is you. One has to contemplate, listen to it again and again, look at that statement, look at what the Guru had to unfold and tell us. Look at all the doubts that come to the mind. This doesn't sound right. I'm a 50-year-old man, very intelligent man. I've been observing the world. I have seen everything in the world. And whatever I thought I saw is not matching with what you're telling me. I have to reconcile that. So you need Shraddha, not faith. Buddha says, Guru Vedanta Vakyeshu Vishwasaha. So you need Shravanam. Shravanam has to be with the Guru. That's why he said, don't try to read yourself. That's a very categorically said, no. Shastrajñopi Swatantrena Brahma Anveshanam na Kuriyat. The words have a literal meaning. But what we have to go into is what is the intended meaning? What is the Vachyartha and what is the Lakshyartha? Sometimes even, in conversation, you say something, but you don't mean it. The words say something, I don't mean it. But one has to be able to see into the word and say, what is it that the speaker is trying to convey? What is Vivaksha? The Lakshyartha has to be understood. This Shraddha, like I said, is for the entire Veda. Once you accept that as a pramana, whatever Veda says, we accept. Not blindly. Even if it's a non-verifiable faith, we don't accept blindly. Shastra says there is punarjanma. Shastra also says that if you live your life like this, you may not get moksha in this janma, but you will take birth in the next janma, where you will gain already several steps towards gaining this moksha. Arjuna asked the same question and Bhagavan made it very clear to him. Kalyanakrit, any good works done. Will always find use in the next janma. When you get the jnanam, there's no janma. Then because we understand there's no such thing as birth or death. But till then, whatever I do, I have another birth, but that birth already is ready, conducive for me to go ahead in the same direction. So that Kalyana Krit, Bhagavan says, will never let you down. You will be born in a family which is already a family of Panditas. So from the very beginning, you are already ahead. Now, no, how will you prove it? This is a pramana. To say that I smell gas leaking because I have a pramana called nose which can smell. Another fellow has a cold. His pramana is not working. And he says, prove it to me. How are you going to prove it? Because it's a pramana, it has a unique field of operation. You can't tell him, hey, can't you see the gas? No, I can't. Can you not hear the gas? You can't. You only can smell the gas. This pramana, when it says that there is a loka called Swargaloka, we accept it as a pramana. There's a problem with other pramana. Why can't Bible be the pramana? Very simple answer to that is, Bible is not talking about you as a subject matter. Bible asks you to follow a person's statement as faith. I'm taking Bible example, mentioning generally all of these. Why can't I use it as a pramana, as a question that might come to the mind? Because it does not satisfy the conditions for something to be called a pramana for the knowledge of the self. That's why they are faiths. That's why they don't. They generally will not allow you to question. Whereas what Shastra says is Shraddhaya avehi. May you know by Shraddha. What about bhakti? Okay, Shraddha I can understand. I need Shraddha because Shastra tells me the truth and I have to have Shraddha in the words of the Shastra and the words of the Guru. What is bhakti? Bhakti, and is it required? I have studied so far, and I have seen Shastra is a pramana. I have Shraddha in the Shastra. I am fortunate enough to have a Guru. I have Shraddha in the Guru Vakya. Is that enough? There are many people who have Shraddha in the Shastra, who have Shraddha in the Guru, but are never able to gain this knowledge. What stops them? What prevents this knowledge from taking place? Today, if you come to a class like this, there are 15, 16 people attending a class. There are millions of other people who also need the same knowledge. But out of that millions, there are at least several who have Shraddha and who have Shraddha in the Shastra and Shraddha in the Guru Vakya. But you ask them, why don't you try and do Shravanam despite the Shraddha? They're not able to. Something is stopping them. Something which is not easy to explain. Oh, Swami G, I have all these other problems. I cannot attend the class. That time I have every day I have meetings at the time then we have the class, even though the class is 6 o'clock in the morning. No, Swamiji, I work across time zones. Therefore, that's the time I have to work with the US. Whatever, some obstruction, something is preventing that person from doing Shravanam. I said, Shraddha is the Shravana Karana. Shraddha is there. But despite that Shraddha, something is blocking them. What is it that blocks them? If you accept that he is a mumukshu, that he knows there is something called moksha, and therefore he is wanting that freedom, and he knows that there is this knowledge available in the Shastra, he fortunately has access to a guru, and yet he cannot do it. Despite Shraddha in the Shastra, despite access to Guru and Shraddha in the Guru Vakya, something prevents this happening. This, what prevents, what causes obstacles are called duritas. Somewhere in the past, everything is a cause and effect. This is an effect. That effect is that I am unable to do Shravanam for various reasons. What prevents me from doing that? I am a mumukshu. I have Shraddha. I have a guru. There are 3 types of duritas. Adhyatmika, Adi Bhautika, and Adi Devika. All obstacles, all duritas are classified in just these 3. When you do a prayer in the beginning of the class, you always end up by saying Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. May these duritas of these 3 types, Adhyatmika, Adi Bhautika, and Adi Daivika duritas, which are obstructing, which could obstruct my Shravanam and my Mananam, may they be quietened. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So when you finish also we say, Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. May Guru and may Ishvara quieten these obstacles. We will look at them in the next class.